Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast. Another business leader, here's a penny for your thoughts. This ain't a regular conversation, baby. This that Dealer Talk, yeah.
What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 1. We are very, very excited to be here. Let's check in with our co-host, Miss Charity Ann. What's up, Charity?
What is up? I'm excited for this season.
Welcome
Season
back
8.
to another season of the Dealer Talk podcast.
Did you think you'd get to 8 seasons?
No, not really. I don't know. This has been a lot of fun. I've been doing this for a minute now. I don't know, 4+ years, I think. But yeah, every year I was like, man, I can't even believe that we had 2 seasons and 3, and just kind of kept going at it. So,
Well, I love working with you, so I love what I learn. This has been an absolute privilege for me. So thanks for letting me tag along on your adventure.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, it's been good to have you. That's why we invited you back. So so this season, we mentioned it on the last episode of season 7. It's all about NIADA. We have an amazing guest list. Shout out to Troy for putting this thing together. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to kind of get this thing rolling.
Yeah. It is a little bit of a, again, change in the way that we're doing things around here.
Yeah, we're going to keep you guys guessing. Every season is going to be different. So we no
Season
status
9
quo
will be a
over
musical.
No status quo.
Here. Yeah.
In season 9, Herbert will be performing every episode in musical format.
Oh, there you go. Huh. Now there's an idea.
Singing about the automotive industry.
Yes. He loves it so much, he'll sing it. Oh, that's good stuff.
I don't even know where to go from there.
Yeah.
How to end a conversation. Step 1.
So we have an amazing guest today, Melanie Wilson. We're going to be talking about, she's the interim CEO, right, of NIADA?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So perfect way to kick things off. Get Melanie's take on things. What are you most excited about this season in this episode for?
I am eager to. I'm laughing because we were just talking about how I overuse the word excited, so I'm trying to use different words now. I am eager for the opportunity to overcome some of the stereotypes that I know are pretty heavy within the independent side of the automotive industry. I want to touch on a bunch of those. And
right on. It's like
go ahead.
Words that the hosts of the Dealer Talk podcast say a lot. Herb, right on. I'm super excited.
I say super excited. Happy podcast day. That should be in the comments.
Yeah, right.
Leave a list of the words that you never want to hear us say again.
Right. It's like every episode they say it's a different episode, folks. I promise you. It's just so.
I was going to say, even in my town, the amount of franchise dealers versus the amount of independent dealers, there's a huge difference in quantity between those two.
What do you mean?
Do you think that there's a lot of dealerships in my town? More so than in other towns?
I don't.
Because there's an independent dealer on every corner.
Yeah, but you're in a single point market, dude. There's one big auto group, and then there's some individual rooftops. And then, yeah, of course, there's a bunch of independent dealers, and you're in the fastest growing city in the country too. So there's that part of it.
It's really fun. Really fun living in this fastest growing metropolitan area in the country.
Well, it will get very fun here shortly if that growth pattern continues.
Time to move to like a cabin in the woods. Do you think I can do a podcast from the cabin in the woods?
So
Peter Duffy did.
He did what? Move to a cabin in the woods?
He was on a farm in the middle of nowhere, remember? And he used what's it called? The internet above everybody.
I remember that.
Elon Musk's internet?
Right.
Okay.
But anyway.
He doesn't remember.
Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's bring on our guest, Miss Melanie Wilson. Hey, Melanie, how you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
We're doing great. All right, so we are very excited for this season, where it's going to be all about the NIADA. So shout out to Troy once again for putting this together. Thank you so much, sir. We kick things off here with a background. So tell us about you.
I am me. No. So I am very sarcastic and crack a lot of jokes and have a hard time being very serious. So I have been at NIADA actually since 2017. I came on as a contractor to help them kind of navigate some pretty tremendous growth they had seen in a very short period of time, and never left. And so I was in the CFO role prior to stepping in as interim CEO when Bob retired. I've been in nonprofit my entire career. I started my career at an association, so it all kind of makes sense. It's why I was referred to them in the first place. And I don't know. I guess when I met them, I didn't know anything about NIADA, and then now I just can't leave.
That's the story of everyone in the automotive industry right there.
That's what I hear.
That's interesting. So what did you do in nonprofits? How did you end up from nonprofit to automotive?
Well, NIADA is technically a trade association. So while we serve independent dealers in the automotive space, we have different priorities because our job is to support those in the industry. So since I had association background, I've got 501c3, like charitable nonprofit background, which NIADA has a charity. And I'm used to nonprofits with like mixed entities. It ended up being a really good fit for my experience to come in and help. And we spent a lot of time rebuilding structure, which is also a strength of mine, and building out infrastructure. And the next thing you knew, I had my fingers in all the pots.
And you love it.
I love it.
Every second.
I do. I love it.
Interesting.
So
fun. That's fascinating.
Let's kind of kick things off with a 50,000 view, Melanie, on like, how was, some milestones of 2022, and what do you guys are seeing for this new year?
So for 2022, wow, I think 2022 was kind of the first year that we kind of got all of our events back, even if the format was a little bit different. Coming out of COVID and people not really traveling. And so we were able to reconnect with people face to face and see people out in the industry, which really, I mean, isn't that what we're all here for anyway? To network and see each other. So we kind of weathered a lot of, all right, the ball can roll again. Let's get it back to rolling. Bob and I had spent the last couple of years when he came in really focusing on what the association does and how we serve our members, and put some really great things in place. And I think for 2023, we're just about to level up all of that. One of my goals is to really leverage our resources and our relationships to bring the right people to the table, to level up on our education, to, make our events amazing, which they always are, but we want to add some fun things and really foster engagement between our members, the association, the state associations, and the industry partners.
Right on.
So go ahead.
No, go for it.
What are some of the fun things you guys are thinking about doing this year?
So we have
You were going to tease us with that, and I'm just going to grab the hook.
So we had been working for quite some time on the Certified 360 program, which is a CPO warranty available to independent dealers that allows them to really compete in the space with like the franchise dealers and their used certified products. It's a really incredible program. It's got a lot of versatility, and it has a lot of future plans too. So we partnered with, I think we have 4 right now, administrators that cover across the country in various regions. We've partnered with Carquetta, who is offering their digital inspection platform for free if you're a member of the CPO program. And it's a really cool thing. And that launched a few days ago. And so we're very, very excited about that. We have also we spent 2022 kind of redefining what our 20 group program was and how we could improve and be better. We want to grow along with our dealers and provide better. So that program is rolling out in a really big way this year. We have plans with education to really provide strategic education classes that are addressing what the dealers need in that moment. I think if we've learned anything over the last few years, it's been very unpredictable. And in a market that, you could kind of set your path and work your path, and you would have the ups and downs, but we really had to pivot for the first time and go in totally new directions. And NIADA wants to be prepared going into 2023 for the things that we can't anticipate or we're not sure are going to happen, or that happen longer than we want them to, that we've got education in place to help dealers navigate through those things. Our show in June is going to be at the Wynn in Las Vegas, which is an excellent facility. Very excited about that. We're lining up the agenda. Same thing with the education content. And then I guess I can't say I'm most excited because there's so many exciting things going on, but every year NIADA goes with dealers and the state associations to Washington, D.C. for the National Policy Conference. And with COVID, we were not able to go, and then we were able to go and get into face-to-face meetings. But for 2023, we'll be back on the Hill for a day in face-to-face meetings with legislators, educating them on our industry, on why what they're doing is important or could be harmful to us, and just really putting our faces in front of them so they know who we are and they know that our industry has a voice.
Yes. That's one of the things that I am always extremely fascinated about is the politics, like the governmental politics and the legal aspects of the automotive industry.
You would love Brett Scott, our VP of Government Affairs. That's his favorite thing to talk about too.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealertalk. That's 4eyes.io/dealertalk.
So I think he might be on the list of people I get to talk to.
He might, probably, should be.
So Melanie, let's go back to the certified program. I'm very interested about that. As people that follow the show know, I used to work for Cox Automotive, and when I was a rep for Auto Trader and KBB, I know Kelly Blue Book was trying to come up with a program for certification as well, something that they could sell to independent dealers, and a lot of the dealers were excited about that offering, because obviously having that certification means that they compete with franchise dealers to a certain degree, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's, I think that the certification is, I mean, it's, how do I say it? Like, it's good, but if the consumer doesn't understand who's providing the certification or holding the dealer accountable, that's what has its weight, right? I mean,
Right.
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So how are you guys putting this forward for the dealer, and more importantly, how are you promoting it to customers so that they understand the validation?
That is a really great question. So I'll answer it in kind of two parts. Information, if a dealer is interested in the program, it's available on our website. Of course, if you, we have a choice of administrators you can choose from. If you don't know who you want to choose, we'll send it to all and you can get the pitch from all of them. And I think from the dealer perspective, it's so important because the consumer can't pay for this program. But when you look at the data, certified cars sell for so much more and so much quicker than uncertified cars. So from a dealer's perspective, there's not a whole lot to lose. You could sell more and you could sell it faster. NIADA has been for several years of my tenure talking about how do we engage the consumer to understand who we are and what we do. And I think this will be probably a phased approach for NIADA. A lot of this has to do with leveraging our state associations and making sure that everybody knows that if you're a consumer, we're here to help you too. If you're not sure what the next step in the process is, or you have a question about, a title or something, we have resources we can point you to as well. So NIADA is working really hard in 22 and 23 to raise awareness about who we are and what we do kind of globally on, social media, which is where a lot of consumers are, and making sure that we partner with those people who are well known by the consumers, and really just start educating consumers on car buying and what to expect and what's beneficial for you. So I think you'll see a lot of big movement on the consumer side, kind of out in the future. It's definitely on our radar. We want to have a consumer section on our website. We're kind of blocking and tackling with the programs that we have now to get them out for dealers and deal with that first. But I think if we can be effective in our messaging and consumers can start to understand that we're here and this is what we do. And if you're doing business with an NIADA dealer or a state IADA dealer, you're choosing the most qualified people. They agree to a code of ethics. They have higher standards, and that those are really the ones that you want to be seeking out. I definitely think we have room to grow in that area as far as like communicating with the consumer.
So as you were talking about the certified pre-owned, I was thinking that I have recently seen definitely an increase in that terminology coming out of, the independent dealers in my area, where customers will be like, well, they have a certified program. And so I was wondering if those were all coming from, like, if you guys have been like slow rolling this out and they're all part of that, or if it's just one of those terms that is starting. Everybody knows that you'll sell and move the car faster, so everybody's trying to use it. And then that, if you're a member of the NIADA, then the consumer will know that this is what's being offered. So anybody can use the terminology, right, but that's where the value add is.
Right. You want to know it's backed by a reputable company and with support. Yeah. I mean, even as a consumer, if you don't know anything about it and you walk onto a lot and you're like, oh, this car's certified and this car isn't. Right. Most people are going to be like, oh, Well, that sounds fun. Like, give me that stamp
Right.
of
Big
approval.
fancy word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had a
And then they're
CPO.
not going to know. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, we've had a CPO program. But what we did over the last, it feels like forever, the last year or so, is pull dealers to the table. And so this program is really created for dealers by dealers, so that we could hone in on, okay, we have this program, it works kind of, but what would you rather see? And take their feedback and really pull all the people to the table to deliver something that the dealers want.
Yeah.
So,
And then go ahead.
Just a quick question here. Would you say that this program, because it's for independents, would be more, is it going to be more rigorous than a franchise dealer certified program?
I wish I knew the ins and outs of a franchise certified program. And if Jeremy Beck was here, he could probably answer this quite intelligently. I don't know about more. I know at least as rigorous. So, all the points of qualification, this was built to compete directly with that product.
That's amazing. I always liked that idea. And like I said, I mean, I know Kelly Blue Book was trying to put something together back in the day. And I really like that because it creates it gives independent dealers an opportunity to compete, right? And competition is good, in my opinion. I guess I wonder how the customer base will look at that. Will it have the same impact? I mean, in theory, it should, but will it have the same impact that it does at a franchise level?
One of the things we are working towards is partnering with like the listing sites and stuff to make sure that if a consumer's at home searching online and they're looking through whatever inventory website, that the NIADA CPO vehicles are tagged as certified pre-owned, backed by NIADA, so that the consumer knows kind of ahead of time to this has a certification on it. And then I assume you'd be able to click a link and like see what that means. I am not the expert at inventory online.
I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking to him too. He's on the list.
Jeremy? Oh yeah.
Yeah, no,
I know
it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have an incredible team at NIADA, and it's really tough when you talk about NIADA as itself. It's a nonprofit association, and a nonprofit association has very specific rules and guidelines, and our purpose is very specific and it's very mission focused. So it's really easy to kind of move into an association role and not know the industry that you're preparing to serve, because the goal is to serve the industry. And then you kind of learn the industry as you go. Luckily, I have at least several years of background in the actual space, but when you partner me and Jeremy Beck, who was a dealer and has 25 years in the auto industry, and he's worked at, APCO, and he brings a lot of actual industry experience to the table. And then you have Brett Scott, our VP of Government Affairs, who's been on the Hill, and he brings all of the legislative. When you put the three of us together, it sounds braggy, but we're pretty much a powerhouse team when it comes to NIADA and being able to cover all of the bases that will really let us be effective in moving the association forward, and therefore helping our members and the dealers and the industry and the industry partners.
That's kind of what I was wondering about at the beginning, when I was like, if you came into the automotive space through the nonprofit, like I can imagine that experience is a little bit different than coming through other avenues. It's because you probably look at it entirely different than most of us in the industry look at it.
It's definitely different. In some ways, like if my priority is to serve you, then I've got to know what you're dealing with. But, I think the measure of a good leader is not necessarily being the one that knows everything in the room, but being able to pull the right people to the table to make sure you're covering everything. And I think that really effectively, that's what's happened at NIADA right now. And was one of the reasons that the board said, can you do this while we figure out what we want to do moving forward? Because we do have all the right resources at the table. And as long as we keep bringing them to the table, I think we all add very specific value. We have very specific expertises. And it's not just our VPs, like all the way down through our staff. We have people who are just so specially skilled at what they do and so good at what they do. And so if you point them in the right direction and educate them on this is what's happening and this is how we need to address it and this is what we're going to do moving forward, the skill set is there for all of us to work together and really accomplish everyone's goals, the association goals, the industry goals, the dealer goals, all of it.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, I wanted to move to kind of move in another direction here, move the conversation along if I could, and talk about the year we just had, the used car year we just had, and kind of get your perspective on that. What do you think? I mean, we had a lot of things happen this year, right? With valuation, starting really high and then where things are today. What do you think the trend is going to continue to be? Do you think we're going to continue to see a big push for used, and we're going to need to have more, just be more accurate when it comes to acquisition and just the valuation kind of roller coaster that we've been on for the past, 18 months or so?
Yeah, this is my least favorite question people ask me, because I feel like in 2022, towards the beginning of the year, we've had struggles in the industry for a while, and everyone's like, oh, this is going to happen by the end of the year, and this is going to happen by the end of the year, and this is going to happen by the end of the year. And not a lot of that has actually happened. And so I'm a finance person. I like trends and predictability. And I feel like we're in a very unpredictable space in the industry right now. And I think anyone that can say like, oh, this will level out, in Q1 or whatever, I don't know if anyone really knows that. I think we'll probably see the variability through at least the first half of 2023. But when people ask me this, I say, if you've learned anything in the last year, you need to learn to be prepared for the unexpected. And I don't think that changes going into 23. I think we as an industry need to be prepared for the unexpected and make sure that we can pivot before it's too late and adapt to a changing market.
What are some of the things? When did you take the position as interim CEO?
Oh, like 2 weeks ago.
So you were
right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas. And you said you were the CFO before.
I was the CFO before.
Yeah. What are some of the did you ever come into work one day and everything had shifted last year and everybody was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Because, or even further back, when COVID first came out,
Fair statement.
I remember like sitting in my office and we didn't even know if we were going to get sent home that day or not. And ever since that moment, it's just been like this perpetual what's next. And you go into meetings and people are talking about, whether or not Carvana is going to be around tomorrow or whether or not the Tesla market just plummeted and every single time that you go into work, you never know exactly what you're going to be getting. Do you have any of those moments in the last couple of years where you're like, that moment, that one, I wasn't anticipating at all.
Most of them.
Most,
So
all of it.
Yeah. It was really interesting because over the last couple of years, I was a CFO, but I managed our operations and our facilities and our admin team and our IT. And so when COVID happened, yeah, we were absolutely like, oh, you're going to be home for a week. And then it's like, oh, you may never come back. And so my team was the one really facilitating, like, how do we completely change the way that we do business almost overnight. And and one of the things I come in to do is help build infrastructure. And that meant like really trying to bring NIADA's technology up. How often are we in any kind of business, right? You're looking back and you're going, why did I never like upgrade what I was doing? And so we were full paper and we had physical servers in the office and you had to be on the network. And all of a sudden we're trying to figure out how do we send 30 people to work from all over the Metroplex, or, you know, the other state people kind of had it all figured out, but there were a good chunk of us here that needed to be in the office. So I feel like since that day, like that day that we knew that that was going to be a thing, the whole world has felt like, oh gosh, what are we going to have to deal with now? And then we had a CEO change in the middle of that as well. And we went through a restructure and we redefined our vision, and we started, you know, evaluating value propositions and changing what we did. So I feel like even if I wasn't on a lot, I understand, because we as an association, we're going through the same pain points of what's going to happen tomorrow with you.
Right.
And also trying to address what you were having to deal with on your line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So
For
I got
sure.
a question. It's not automotive related so much, is more up at a position level. So you're 3 weeks into this new role. What's the biggest shift from what you were doing before to what you're doing now?
That's a good question. I have been pretty fairly involved in the operations and kind of direction of the association for quite some time. And so knowing like where we're headed and what we're doing and our programs and things like that, like I was always involved in that at some level. I think the biggest thing is, you know, you get this idea like, oh, I've been here, this shouldn't be so hard to like catch up, right? No, there has been so much I've had to learn on a much deeper level than what I had to know before. Because before I was helping set strategy and direction and obviously paying attention to like the financial impact of these decisions to the association. Now, not only do I have to do all of those things, but I also need to know the details of all of these programs and you know, really be able to wrap my head and articulate the specific details of everything that we do. And you think you know a lot until someone asks you a question and you're like, boy, I wish I had read that white paper one more time before we started talking now. So I think for me, that's been the biggest shift, is just how much deeper I feel like I want to be in understanding exactly what the details are of the programs that we deliver, like the CPO program, and understanding exactly, you know, what the industry changes mean for our dealers. I mean, I always use CD as an excellent magazine. I always read our magazines. You know, I keep up with the industry, but now it's like very important. And so it's been a whole new level of understanding, I think, and it's not so far off from what I was doing before. It's just much deeper than what I was doing before.
Oh yeah, I can totally understand that. Well, thank you so much. We have one question that we always ask everybody. Well, Herb has one question that he asks everybody, but I like to tweak it. So one question that I is, how do you think that we can improve the automotive industry in the next 5 years?
I think that I think we all need to be working together. I think that there are so many resources out there, and I've been talking to different people across the industry, and everyone kind of sees it. There are so many resources out there that aren't necessarily functioning together that could be supporting each other. And I think that if we can find a way to really network our industry partners with our dealers, I mean, a dealer has a problem on a day-to-day basis. There's someone out there who's solving that problem for them. So I think if we can all start working together and just making sure that people like NIADA and the state IADAs are really helping to facilitate the connections from the dealer and the industry partner, and then teaching the consumer why we're a better choice than maybe something else. I think that's really how you improve the industry overall, right? Because the industry is built on the dealers and their success and their ability to deliver a product and communicate their value proposition. And so if we can help them do all of those things and connect them with the right resources, I think that what rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. Interesting. Fascinating. I'm excited for this season. Thank you for coming on and talking with us.
Yeah,
and
thank you for having me.
We're eager to meet everybody that you work with and to work with you guys this season. So
yeah, you'll love
thank
them.
you. Thank you so much.
Folks. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That is all the time that we have for today. And as usual, we'll talk later.
We only host a well-respected. The vendor LexisNexis. We don't sell digital marketing. What you do? We inspect it with our DT vendor management.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealer talk. That's 4eyes.io/dealer talk.